On August 12th, there'll be a solar eclipse. Then the total solar eclipse will be right there at the Arctic. And it'll happen during what we call the period of the Lion Gate. For Raphael, the lions are anchoring in this heaven on earth vibration, and there'll be support energetically during those windows. The white lions carry these codes that anchor in the energy for the new earth. I just have this magical connection with them from the stars. I don't know if it's like a Lyran connection. Raphael talks about we have an opportunity through conscious awareness and coming into presence over a period of time as we're making this shift in consciousness, and as we give birth to this reality, we're coming into a place where our relationship with time is collapsing more and more. We think, oh, we're going up in dimensions. So the dimensions are all enfolded within our DNA and our cells. It's integrated so much within my whole molecular structure that it's merged with me and it doesn't feel as separate. The next 3 to 4 to 5 years are going to be unprecedented changes that will change our paradigm completely. We're pretty excited, but I can't say that was already too much that I said.
Thanksgiving, 1989. You have a turkey on the table and your sister is on the sofa. Can you bring me into this moment in time with you, please?
Oh my God. Wow. Okay. So 1989, I come from a big Irish Catholic family. My mom's in the kitchen cooking dinner. My sister, I have 3 sisters, and we had been going and doing this process of like opening up our body through a particular type of chiropractic care. My mother wasn't really privy to it, and my sister sitting on the sofa, she starts going, ah, and moving her hands like this, like she's holding an orb, and going, it's so beautiful. We're like, oh, she's lost her rockers. and
Someone
then
go looking for the marbles. Where are they? Where are they?
let me backdrop to that. She was, straight A student, top university, worked in Manhattan, was making tons of money, was not a woo-woo person. So we were like, whoa, what's going on with her? And then this energy came through and it started talking, and it was clearly not my sister, and it was poetic and had these beautiful metaphors. And my mom, of course, being raised Catholic, she's like, oh my God, what's happening? I should call the priest. Like, what's going on? My dad was like, this is very interesting. My brother was like, you people are crazy. Everybody had their reaction. Some people just like went into the room, closed the door, pretended it wasn't happening. The energy started moving crazy through her body. She was sharing all this stuff. Then we went back behind the kitchen where we went into another room, and my other sister, the energy came into her, and she like was up pinned against the wall, and it was ready to move through her body. And she said, no, 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 I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And she just shut it down. But my sister, Mary Ellen, just allowed it to come through. And it was so beautiful. It was so loving. It just brought us to tears. Everyone was just in awe, but we didn't know what was happening because back then people didn't know what channeling was. Certainly in my family, they didn't know what channeling was. There was no internet. There was nothing. So then we went to the library. We figured this was what it was. And we got those little index cards, we had to pull out the old day and find books. And we end up finding this book called Opening to Channeling. We open it up, and the first sentence is, it's Thanksgiving, and I began to channel. And then the synchronicities started coming. Every few minutes, one after another, and we knew we were on this magical, amazing journey. And then I would go to my sister's home. I was in college. I was 20 years old, and she was 12 years older than me, and I would go and stay with her on the weekends, and I would bring the old-fashioned tape recorder, and she would channel, and I would tape everything and ask questions, and we were like so excited. It was so juicy. And then literally one day she got up, she's like, okay, I have to go. I've got to go to the grocery store. I'll be back, and we'll finish the session. I'm like, okay. So she leaves, and then Raphael comes through my body and just finishes what that was being the whole thing, it's just like a continuation, and then I started to channel. And then the 2 of us were channeling together, and we were living at that point in the same home because I had just graduated, and I thought I'd stay with her to get going in life. And she had a 3-story house, and she would be on the 3rd floor, I would be on the bottom floor. And we would wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning with this surge of energy and Raphael going, "Da, da, 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 da." We get all this information, I guess what you call now downloads. It would be so intense. And I jump up to run up to the steps, like, to tell her, and she'd be running down at 3 AM, and we would be like, "Oh my god, blah, 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 blah." She's like, "I know, blah, 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 blah." And she was married, her husband was like, "This is insanity," because it was just like, it was euphoric, it was beautiful, it was so magical, and we were getting so much information. And him being also, he was the vice president of Hartford Insurance Company at the time, pretty like, linear thinking. And he's like, "Okay, let me get this straight. My wife and her sister are talking to an angel in the middle of the night. I have to go to work tomorrow. You people have gone off your rockers." And he's like, we're like, "But no, but it's so beautiful what they're saying. And it's about raising the consciousness. And they're talking about someday this movement, this thing will happen and we'll be a part of it." He's like, "Ah." So he goes and gets the tape recorder. He's like, "Okay, fine." And he puts her in one room. I don't know if I've told you this before. He puts me in another room. And he's like, "Okay, you guys, you're sequestered." And he did in his room
His version of the Faraday cage. He Faraday caged you guys. Yeah. I would do the same.
Right, so he's like, he would ask me a question, I would channel, he would tape it. Then he would go in the other room and ask her a question, and the same question, she would channel, and he would tape it. And then he came out bewildered, and he rolled up his sleeve. I'll never forget it. He's like, "Oh my God, you're talking to an angel." Because we were both answering the same thing, but we were in different rooms. So it was clear that this energy could be in two places, two bodies simultaneously bringing forth the same information. Now, was it word for word? No, but it was 90% within the sentence, the exact same answer. And from that moment on, he was so on board, and it changed his paradigm, his thinking, everything about him. He ended up writing a book called Whispers from My Soul, and he later began to channel. And so it was just a magical time, and it continued for years, my sister and I, on this journey together. It was really, really special.
Wait, so then he later becomes a channel. Does that mean anybody can channel? What's your thoughts on something like that? Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I think we are all channeling, right, in different forms, and we're painting or we're writing or we're playing music or we're doing a podcast, and we get in that flow, right, that we're channeling. I happen to do it in a way where I kind of really exit my body and the energy comes in and shares. So it's more noticeable, but I think we all have that capacity for sure.
When you were speaking to an angel and she was speaking to an angel and he was dictating and taking notes, was there any point where you were worried that you were speaking to some being that was pretending to be an angel? Did you have that fear at some point, or did you have complete trust from the outset?
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Because I was raised in a Catholic family, there was a lot of questioning, right? My mom was like, is this an exorcist? What's happened?
yeah.
But because the information was so loving and it brought such peace and it was so supportive, and it never in 37 years has guided me in any direction other than a place of love. And it was always based in love, that we knew it was coming from this very high vibration. Now, if it had been telling us to do things or was filled with fear or anything like that, of course. But it was so clear that it was such a blessed divine energy that was supportive and loving. And now so many years later, I channel for thousands of people and testimonials of miracles and changes. So I know in the heart of my deepest being that it is a loving, beautiful vibration that is here to support the planet. But yes. Of course, in the beginning, my I remember my Aunt Jane, she was like, "Well, how come you could talk to an angel? When was the last time you went to church?"
That's a that's a fair enough hang up. I would I would if I put in some mileage at church as well, I would be asking the similar question. I can't blame her.
Oh.
Yeah, it's interesting. So if we can fast forward only about 4 decades, pardon me for that, for dating you as well, my apologies. But you're in Rome, and this was just weeks ago, and you traveled to a ley line, dedicated to an angel, and something was it equally as revelatory? Like, tell me what's going on here. It seems like some things have inverted. Can you tell me what happened? Yeah.
I often go on what I call a magic trip, or I intentionally go to a specific sacred place, usually with my good friend Debashri, who lives in India, and we are preparing for a light code, and we just allow spirit to play and enjoy and connect with the magic. And so we're working on the ley line, and that runs from Israel all the way to Ireland. But it has a midpoint in Italy, at a beautiful cave there dedicated to St. Michael up in the foothills. And we connected with that energy too, because I was at the time teaching a code called the Protection Light Code. And we wanted to connect with Archangel Michael's energy, which is very protective and loving. It has a different frequency than Archangel Raphael. And as always, when I'm on a trip like that, magical things unfold and take place, but we were able, it's a place where people pilgrimage up to this site, and usually hundreds of people are always in the space, and you can't ever get any alone time. But I needed to be in this cave by myself in order to connect into the frequency to do the work that we needed to do on the ley line. And so I just asked Source, I said, if I'm meant to be in this space alone, can you please provide that opportunity for me? And so we were in the gift shop at the top of the stairs before you go down many, many stairs, right before it was about to close, purchasing an angel statue. And the woman kind of stepped out, and I turned to Devashri. I'm like, this is our moment. I said, come on, let's do it. So she looks at me. She's like, are you kidding? They're going to close in a second. I'm like, yeah. So we run down, the stairs are down and down and down. It's like a lot of stairs, and you get down. We go in to the sanctuary where this cave is, where Archangel Michael is. And because had emptied out and they were closing, there's no one there. We're in it. We're connecting with Archangel Michael. There's this very sacred space. So we're having this beautiful moment. And then we hear this boom. And we're like, oh my God, we're locked in here for the night. We're not going to be able to get out. And I'm,
Oh, no.
and I'm like, we're going to have to sleep on the floor. It smells like mold. This is not a good situation.
I'm picturing Devashri's face at this moment looking at Kelly.
Yeah, so she's super calm. She's filming me, and I'm like, okay, we gotta go. She's calmly walking through. But anyway, we had this beautiful moment with Archangel Michael in connection, and his energy sort of turned into the seraphim. We were working at that point with these higher orders of angels, the seraphim, the Ophim, etc. And I did look to her and I said, okay, we gotta kind of get out of there. So we run up the stairs and get to these huge, big wooden old doors, and they are bolted shut. We're like, oh, we're in here for the night. But we were able to find our way out. Um, but we're always provided the space, I find, especially when we're doing sacred travel. They will always make a way for us to be alone wherever we need to be to connect with the vibration and then carry it home, and share with the community. So it was a special adventure. Yeah.
It kind of felt like, Michael woke up within you, though, from the transmission that I understood, in terms of, like, you started to feel much more integrated with the downloads that you've been receiving for so many years, and instead of the downloads sort of coming from above, they started to emanate much more from within. Is that an experience that you're
Yeah.
experiencing?
Definitely. when I first started to channel, it was I would completely be unconscious, and when I'd come out of it, I'd have to listen to the recording or ask, "What's happened?" Then it started to become like a dream, where I would remember parts of it, but not all. But since that connection, and the deeper the work has become in the last few, I don't know, 6 months to a year or so, it's integrated so much within my whole molecular structure that it's merged with me and it doesn't feel as separate. So although it is channeling, yeah, the energy is not doesn't feel so much as if it's outside of me coming inside, but it's inside of me being shared outward. So those two vibrations are merging within what I would say the 0 point within my own inner self, so that the polarity has, collapsed and it's more of a unified field, if that makes sense.
It really does. It makes me we've done quite a few podcasts on non-duality as well, and it does just make me wonder about, because we oftentimes I mean, it's probably even worth just hearing from you the different order of angels like seraphim, like you mentioned a few there. Maybe you can run us through it if you're aware of it. But yeah, it just makes me wonder about, we do from this egoic sort of human experience do experience everything as separate, right, and individuated. But when you're starting to describe like, "Oh, I'm feeling much more integrated and like the communication's coming through and it just feels more unified as an experience," I couldn't help but sort of scratch the non-dual itch, that was sort of pointing at.
Yeah, and I think that as a collective, we're experiencing that more and more. We've been working with aligning with a vibration of, let's say, the Everywhen, right? Where the present, future, and moment are all
Did you
unified.
call it Everywhen? Is that what you called it? Everywhen.
The Everywhen. Well, it's an Aborigine term, right, of dream time where we're everywhere all the time, all at once. So all timelines are merging into one unified field in one moment, and we're in that 0 point frequency where we're not in the past, we're not in the future, and not even in the presence. Like, we always think, "Okay, we need to come into conscious awareness, into presence of the now, and hold that field," but that field then emanates out to encompass and embody all of us, past and future simultaneously. So as we travel, what they call the everyone, we're aligning with the inner dwellings of the inner earth, the cosmos above, all everything all at once. And I feel that as we're making this shift in consciousness, and as we give birth to this reality that I feel collectively we're dreaming up together, and I sure hope that we're dreaming something beautiful, that we're coming into a place where our relationship with time is collapsing more and more, and we're entering into that state of non-duality and that presence of that unified field, and we're able to hold that frequency from a place of love, and then everything else in which we're attaching to within the linear thought forms just begin to collapse within themselves, and we no longer begin to perceive the dimensions, as you're saying, outside of ourselves. Like, we think, "Oh, we're going up in dimensions," but the dimensions are all enfolded, from my perspective, nested inside one another and within ourselves, in our DNA and in our cells. So when they're nested and enfolded within the torque field, within every aspect, and we begin to open that field and it begins to blossom, it holds all of it all at once. So it's no longer perceived as separate. And when we release that construct of our perception as of separateness, and we come back more into the understanding and recognition of our relationship with the living earth, with ourselves and with each other, then our need to be right or wrong or in that state of polarity or against something starts to diminish itself. And we hopefully begin to release those old constructs and paradigms that we talk about on every podcast that are collapsing, right? And we come into a different state of awareness.
It's interesting, I've almost destroyed my ability to move into my next question by asking you that question, but I was hoping to gather some because you mentioned ley lines, and it's a
Mhm.
deep part of your work and your awareness, and when you say that, I almost feel like I visualize an earth and sort of these lines where light is just erupting from them. I don't know why that's the visual I get, but it's just the visual I get, and then I think about individuals and sort of their meridians, and I'm wondering about the universe, and I do sort of wonder your worldview on these sort of I won't say separated entities, but there does seem to be like these, like almost like this human being, the earth, the universe. Do you look at the continuity? Because it seems like your work speaks to the continuity of these energetic fields and how the human being is waking up, the earth is waking up, the universe is waking up. Like it seems like there's this real multi-layered shift. And I know we just spoke about oneness, but it does seem to be that across multiple domains, if we can call them that, shifts do seem to be happening. The interconnectedness of these domains, are there certain domains that you focus on? Is it those 3 or is there more to it, less to it? Can you bring us into your worldview?
Yeah, well, they're symbiotic, right? They're all connected. And when we speak of, let's say, the Everywhen, what that is the map of the cosmos, the lines, the meridians are mirrored onto the Earth grids, which have their own meridians and lines, which are also mirrored within the cellular aspect of our whole body, right? Where they're running. And so we see them as separate, but they're all one field of energy. And when we can align with that vibration, and step into that current, then we're moving in this synchronistic flow where we're being carried by this magnetic, beautiful force of the universe, where the stars are the map of the stars are inside our body, and the map of the entire Earth and its meridian fields are running through our nervous system, and we start to see the web of light that like is coming through our hands and off our body, and how it is interacting with the meridian lines, and then those lines are interacting with the mycelium and the trees, and those with the rivers and the stones, and then that is mirroring, the map in the constellations and the stars, and it's one pulsating field of energy. And so when as we begin to remember that, then our relationship with the trees and the rivers and the stars and one another and the guardians and the spirits of the land come back into right relationship. And we start to recognize that we're not separate. And if we can come into that awareness, then we're much less likely to cut down all the trees in the Amazon or pollute that river or, go to war with our brother and sister, because we recognize that anything that we're ever hurting, we're hurting ourselves, because there's an extension between us and every living thing. And so, the ancient cultures, whether they be the Aborigines or the Native Americans or, whoever, they knew deep in their being this. And I think hopefully we're starting to come back into this remembering again, which we really need to do as a collective.
Inspired souls, lumen beings, thank you so much for all of you that are subscribed to this podcast. Everything you see around here is powered and empowered by your subscription to this channel. Thank you so much for your incredible love and for your support. To all of you that haven't yet subscribed, it's absolutely free and it costs you nothing, and it enables an entire channel to do everything that you see around here. So please do take a moment. As I'm saying the word subscribe, the button below is lighting up in the colors of the Inspired Evolution. Please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification icon, join the community, join the movement, spreading love, positivity, and wisdom like this around the planet together. And subscribe to all of your favorite creators here on YouTube, spreading love, positivity, and wisdom like this around the planet together. Thank you so much in advance for your support. Back to the episode. Last time you were on, we were talking deeply about these codes that also bring on a light body. So because what you're just referring to there feels like a call to embodiment, to really come into one's body. But then there's also this development of a light body. And when you mention a light body, first of all, the question really is, what is a light body? I think that's what I would like to question for us to get squared away on. But also, we're talking about embodiment. It also feels like light body is out there and embodied body is over here. They feel like they're separate, and maybe that's some cleaning up that might need to be brought into people's awareness. So what is a light body, Kelly?
I love that yeah, because I think that we do think about the light body as something outside of ourself over here and then being embodied. But when we take that light and we embody it, then we're in our light body. So it's both, right? And let's say in the Buddhist culture, we think of the light body as the rainbow body, and it's only attained by the greatest monks who have been in deep contemplation and meditation in the Himalayas for so long, right? And then they're left with just, a little bit of hair or something or a tooth, and they've gone into the rainbow body and ascended, and their whole body is disintegrated. They're holding so much light that they're elevating into that next octave, and they're able to move into that next frame of existence. And so for us, those who are not necessarily doing that in-depth process, Raphael talks about we have an opportunity through conscious awareness and coming into presence over a period of time. And with Raphael, we receive these beautiful transmissions that mostly knock people out and they fall asleep, to be honest. But what's happening is on a very deep level, it's clearing ancestral trauma, blockages, old energies, and in that it's revealing the light that is inherently dwells inside of all of us, the highest frequency of who we are, our divine self, perhaps is a better way to say it. The avatar within starts to radiate out, and we are then in an octave that is at a higher frequency, although I don't like to use the word hierarchy. And that vibration then places us energetically on what we could call an ascension timeline, or on the Everywhen, or an organic timeline, where we start to notice, and people notice this in our community, that synchronicities, magic, abundance, healing, relationships start to come back into balance, because we're aligning with our own divine true nature, with the avatar that we are. And so we're emanating more light, and then we're vibrating at a frequency that puts us on a bandwidth where life is much more flowing and much more in alignment. And we're less likely, of course, we're going to come up to obstacles and have things to work out and clear, but it's easier. Things come much more into balance, coherence.
I really like the way you answered that question because one of my questions was going to be you never say build the light body. You always say activate. And
Right.
I wanted to scratch that because it seems like it's something that we've all actually inherently got, but we've sort of some part of us has gone dormant too.
Yeah, exactly. Everything is already there and inside of us. There's nothing to attain or to get. It's more to reveal or to remember, to activate, to bring awareness to it so that it can present, so that we can come more into conscious connection with it as we release sometimes I think of it as my block to my own divine self as this heavy door. And then it became, a glass door with a screen. And then I opened it more and more until I'm just emanating more of that light, and those blockages that we all have that are accumulated, not just from this lifetime, but all lifetimes, that kind of dim our light a little or get in the way because we're holding on to those traumas and those structures and those beliefs so strongly. And when we can sort of surrender, let go of some of them, trust, open up, allow, love ourselves, move into a sense of balance, embodiment, grounding, all the things we know to do, those energies start to just like wash away. It's like cleaning a window. And then that light that's already there is just shining through.
Can I ask you, I know this is a body of work that, you're deeply invested in through the angels all the way up to 2030, but what code are you working on at the moment? Last time you came, you were just about to start the death light code, which I know that this is for most people was like, wait, death light code? And I was like, yes, welcome to a podcast with Kelly Kolodney. It's not for the faint of heart. But yeah, what are you guys up to now at the moment in your journey?
Well, completely opposite celebration.
Yeah, it's my third highest value. I love that word. Wow,
Yeah.
do you wanna tell us a little bit about the celebration code, please? Yeah.
Yeah, the celebration code is where we come together to collectively dream our reality through our reconnection to the trees, to the animals, to the fairies, the dragons, the elemental realms, and we begin to remember how to telepathically connect and communicate and create create relationships again. So we're gonna have so much fun in that light code. It starts in August, and we're gonna be out talking to the trees. We're gonna be tree huggers. We're gonna be walking through enchanted forests and finding fairies, and we're gonna see the dragons and the stones. And we're gonna talk to the foxes and the bears and the lions. And so it's gonna be fun, and we're gonna celebrate how do we collectively dream up a reality filled with love and reconnection and embodiment with the ancient traditions. So um, I'm actually invited a guest to be with me in the celebration code. Her name is Kara Daniels. She's an animal communicator and a tree communicator, and she's going to teach us techniques. And yeah, it's going to be great. A lot different than the death code. Although the death code was, I think, my favorite and most attended code. We worked with Shiva. We went to Mount Kailash. We went through our life reviews. We had vultures come in and energetically clear all the debris on our body. It was so intense, and people loved it. They talked to their ancestors who had crossed over. They worked on grief. And so I thought, oh, how am I going to say to people, come join the death light code? Everyone attended. We had thousands of people, and it was amazing. But this will be a completely different frequency that we're stepping into. Yeah.
Wow, I find that so inspirational here because having run a podcast for the better part of a decade, some things draw people in and some things don't. And death is one of those topics that, I won't say regularly, but semi-regularly we will feature. We had Dr. Robert Thurman on, and he wrote the leading translation in English to the Tibetan Book of the Dead and the Dying. And Andrew Holchek, Preparing to Die. We've had some really great podcasts, Die Wise with Stephen Jenkinson. But it just seems like a topic that people don't fully really want to sink their teeth into, and it's really beautiful to hear that actually a lot of people showed an incredible appetite for wanting to approach it. Every time someone brings up death, I can't help but reflect on that Alan Watts quote, the greatest fertilizer for a life well lived is contemplation of death. If you can plant your seeds of your life in that, you will, harvest and reap and sow the greatest fruits of your life. So yeah, really beautiful to hear, despite all the vultures picking at everybody.
Everyone loved it. They were all crying. They're like, "This is amazing!"
Yeah, and it's more removing, more releasing, and celebration. You mentioned fairies, you mentioned dragons, but you also mentioned animals. There's no two ways about it. I mean, the white lion. I'm just going to say white lion and explain yourself. I don't even know what else to say to you, Kelly. Bring us into your worldview.
Oh, well, I had a dark night of the soul in 2017. I thought I was dying. I was so sick. So sick for a year in agony, became very weak, was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. But it
Oh,
was more
wow.
than that. I was just like, oh, it was a mess. And I heard about Panchakarma, which is a place, a tradition. You might be from Ayurvedic tradition. And my son, I was too weak, but he flew me to a place where I spent 21 days and went through this process. And in this process of detoxing physically and emotionally and spiritually, I had an encounter with a black jaguar, actually, who energetically, because I have these gifts, like came to me and was super strong. I could see him like as if he was right there and pounced on my bed. And the medicine of the jaguar helped me understand I really needed to come into my personal power. At the time, my hair was pitch black because my hair naturally is black. I was younger, right? A little bit younger. And I went through this metamorphosis, this change. And when I was finished with the process, I decided to let my hair go. I thought I maybe had a little gray. I had no idea that it was all like this. It
Touch wood.
became like totally white. And
I'm getting closer.
I thought I had a little bit, but no, I didn't. And at the end, my hair had turned like this, and then this beautiful white lion appeared to me. And yeah, I just had this incredible moment. I can't even begin to explain it. That was like I had met it's an old soul that I'd known my whole life, and he was like, "You made the choice." Like, I had a choice to leave or to stay, and I decided to stay, and with staying, he kinda asked me, to do some things that were personal, but were spiritual to help the collective, and I agreed to it, and I could just feel this energy come into my body as if, like, I had been welcomed by him home to share my gifts, and, so I have a picture of the white lion behind me here. Sometimes people say I look like a white lion, and
I can't unsee it. Now that I see it, I can't unsee it. It's just like every time I look at you, it's
like
I see the totem pouring right through you, in a very loving way. Yeah.
So I just have this magical connection with them from the stars, and I don't know if it's like a Lyran connection or Syrian or what, but I love the white lions, and I recently have just reached out to Linda Tucker. She lives in Timbavate, and she's this sacred activism, amazing woman who has dedicated her entire life to protecting the actual white lions that were on the verge of absolute extinction. I think there's only a few dozen on the planet, and they live there in South Africa, and she's created a beautiful sanctuary for them where they have thousands of acres where they can roam freely without being worried about being poached and killed, which there's a terrible industry that kills them and makes a lot of money doing so. So she's an incredible walk your talk, grounded woman who has done the work. And so I've connected with her recently, hoping that in some of the work that I do, that I could contribute to her foundation and support protecting them. So from her teachings, not mine, she says that the white lions carry these codes that anchor in the energy for the new earth. And where they live and dwell in Timbavate, the word Timbavate, no, don't quote me exactly because she has it in her book, but it's very close to this is where heaven and earth meet. Um, and that they're connected to the star Sirius, and that they're these beautiful star beings who have descended here and are holding a lot of beautiful energy. And as the apex animal in the animal kingdom are thought as like the king, right, of the jungle, that they carry this very protective vibration and this beautiful energy that they're holding for the planet right now. So yeah, I have a deep reverence for them as a species, along with everything else. Not singling them out as extra special, but I feel connected deeply to them. Yeah.
That place where they're located and, there seems to be a ley line that runs through there as well, right? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so there's a ley line that runs right through where they are in Timbavate. It goes up to Egypt, right through, Luxor, right there. Continues up to the Arctic, which is really interesting because, well, a couple things. My Debishri, who I work with very closely in the light codes, I had carried this egg with me for 30 some years that had been to sacred sites around the world. And I asked her, she was going to the Arctic Circle out on a expedition with some academic slash artists, people to do some incredible filming far they got in Southboard and then they went out on a boat into the Arctic for over a a month or so and couldn't be reached. But anyway, I had asked her to drop this egg during the summer solstice right into that spot, a specific spot that Raphael wanted it to be dropped, which was carrying these codes. Turns out I didn't understand at that time that it was on that ley line. This year in August, on August 12th, there'll be a solar eclipse. Then the total solar eclipse will be right there at the Arctic. And it'll happen during what we call the period of the Lion Gate. So the Lion Gate usually runs between July 28th and like August 12th. This will happen on the 12th at the last day. It's at that part on the ley line. Then next year, 2027, on August 2nd, there's going to be one of the longest solar eclipses in Egypt in centuries, and it'll be over 6 minutes long. Many spiritual teachers will be descending upon Egypt at that time to honor this specific energy that will be coming into the planet. And then that line continues down to Timbavate, where the lions are. So both of these solar eclipses are going to be unfolding at the time of that window of the Lion Gate. And from my understanding from Raphael, is the lions are anchoring in this heaven on earth vibration. And there'll be support energetically during those windows. I can't give the details, but some really beautiful people that all of you know, and I are hoping to be in Africa for that period and gather 144,000 people to anchor in heaven on earth and dream a new dream for the world. So we're pretty excited, but I can't say that was already too much that I said. So yeah, this year during the Lion Gate, we will be seeding that event. This will be the time where we will start to get the energy moving for this bigger thing because it's all connected on that meridian.
Hey there, inspired souls, you heard it here first. Gathering at the time of the greatest eclipse of this century. Yeah, 6.5 minutes, and it's peaking over Egypt. So we would like to go to Luxor again. This year we're going to Egypt, and it's sold out as an experience with Matthias Stefano and Robert A. Grant in under 23 hours. If you would like to be the first to know about the Inspired Evolution experience next year, when we're going in August at the time of this great eclipse to Egypt again, there's not 144,000 of us going as the Inspired Evolution experience. It'll be a very intimate tribe traveling together, hopefully experiencing this incredible spectacle of the sky and bespoke, unique experiences. Just like we've got 11:11, we've got the King's Chamber this year at 11 o'clock. It's going to be an incredible experience. So if you are feeling connected to the energetics of this and you feel the call and would like to join us in an Inspired Evolution experience in Egypt next year, join the waitlist. Be the first to know when this goes live. I'll put a link, QR code on screen, and also a link in the description below. It would be magical to have you there along with us at this incredible moment in time. True to the name, Inspired Evolution Experiences. It'd be wonderful to have you there. Hey there, inspired souls. June, July, August, September, somewhere in there, if you would like to come along to a Inspired Evolution experience at Mount Shasta with Kelly Kolodney and likely another teacher from the Inspired Evolution podcast, well then we will put a link below and a QR code on screen for you to get your phone out, do your thing, jump to the link and leave your expression of interest. Join the wait list to come along to Mount Shasta for an incredible retreat experience with the Inspired Evolution tribe and community. You'll be the first to know. If you're inside the community circle, you're always the first to know. But if you join the wait list as well, you will be the first to know as well when these experiences are coming up and coming out. So join the wait list. I'll put a link to the screen below. Mount Shasta. Yeah, with Kelly Kolodney. I can't wait. 2028. Here we go. Tell us, for the uninitiated, the importance of the Lionsgate portal.
Well, the Lion Gate is a portal where the veil is thin, where Sirius shows up more. It's during constellation of Leo. It's for me, it's this window every year on the Lion Gate. Something really special happens. It's an incredible time for creation, manifestation, healing. But when I gather people for it, we're going to be coming more into just a state of presence, into the 0 point, working with the 8. So the peak of it is on 8-8, which is the infinity sign, which to me is this infinity gateway. And we'll be working with the 8. If you think of the infinity sign, it has those 2 loops in the 0 point, and we're going to be doing as above, so below, the lions on the ground, the star lions, these energies, and bringing them into the 0 point, opening the 0 point to come into presence and conscious awareness, and then hold that energy to create a unified field of all of the energies and begin to dream up collectively and come into a coherent state to bring and usher in an earth that is filled with more love and more unity and more peace and all those things that we're all putting our energy towards. So yeah, so much happening. There's so much, I don't even know where to begin, but it's gonna be a magical weekend, that's for sure.
I can hear our mutual friend Heather Ensworth saying something in this podcast already about like how we are in this star system, but she believes that we are part of a binary star system with Sirius as well, and just that star system. And I wonder, like, the closeness at that portal and just sort of what it means because her new book, is such an incredible read as well. I loved that book. Um, but the galactic center that she points to as well, and I just wonder what, as the veil thins, what opens up during those periods for us. We were going to get to the 0 point at some point because it's you, and we've got to talk about this.
Real quick, just wanna go back to Heather Ensworth. She is the salt of the earth, the real deal, and that book
Oh,
is amazing.
she's
She's
salt of
incredible.
the earth.
If
Yes.
people don't know her or follow her, you gotta do it.
The audience here knows her affectionately. I think she's been on at least 4 times, to the Inspired Evolution podcast. So we're big fans of Heather. She's, to your point, just so generous and so giving and so loving in every way. It's really a blessing. Yeah, 0 point energy. Is there a From what I gathered, I read somewhere in preparation for this podcast, there might be a black hole in each of our hearts, like a portal. Can you tell us a little bit more about 0 point energy and our hearts?
Yeah, well, there is this sacred chamber, right, in there, and when we can go into that space, and I often guide people into that beautiful space, we have to become acquainted with it and spend time in there. But what's so interesting is that when you become familiar with what is in there, you can bring what is there in and project it in a sense into this space where like if you look around the room you're in now, and then you can bring whatever is here in there and start to create this relationship of the two where you're merging this inner aspect and the outer aspect into one field in the recognition that what we carry in our heart, we can bring into our field of our awareness where we are and vice versa and create a understanding of this process. So, see if I can bring an example. If sometimes if I go into my heart chamber, into that secret space, which at first might seem dim, you might not be able to locate it. You really have to practice. One of the ways to connect to it is simple, just putting our hand on our heart and saying, I love you with your name, whatever your name is, right? So I love you, Kelly. So simple. But if you keep doing that, you start to feel the energy in the heart. And then you can take your hand and just start moving it just also gently in and out, start to create a field. And then if you go in and bring your awareness into that chamber, it will be dark, but you can just kind of see a dial sometimes as if you're like turning the light switch up. And then once you can start to get it illuminated and you spend time in the illumination of that chamber, you'll recognize that something might start to come into your awareness. And it can take a little while, but maybe there's a loved one in there that's on the other side, or there's a totem animal, or there's your inner child, right? Something might show up, and you spend time in there in your heart and really feel into what's showing up. And sometimes, let's say, a beautiful angel, or let's say a being that you're connected to comes, maybe Lakshmi, perhaps, let's as an example, and you feel, the ocean waters and the elephants coming in and the water filling up in your heart and the ocean milk and Lakshmi and golden coins, and then your heart becomes like gold crystals. And then you can take that energy, because that's the energy that might be speaking to you, and you can bring it out into this reality, and you start to feel it into that reality, and then you can bring that reality in. So sometimes we'll play with this if we're in class. Let's say if you look around your reality, and I happen to have, let's say, a Lakshmi beautiful gold statue, and I notice all the other objects in my space, but she speaks to me because there's consciousness held within her and she's more alive, then I can invite her into my heart chamber, and then she becomes alive in there, and then I bring her back out, and I start to create this relationship as within, so without. It's a process that helps us connect to our heart and recognize that what's in our heart is often projected in our reality, and what's in our reality is within our heart. So, what did you ask me? Oh, the 0 point. I'm sorry. I've really gone off on a crazy.
No, 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 you're doing perfectly. We're still tracking, please, yeah. Yeah, the 0
Okay.
point in the heart center, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, or you can just go into the toric field, right, into the 0 point and get that field moving and go into a coherent state, or work with heart coherence and heart math, and they can help you. Like, there's a million different ways to come into that coherence, but I love to go in and find the chamber and spend time in it. And I always have students start by going down, right, and anchoring in, bringing in the energy up through the pranic tube into the heart, up into the cosmos, back down, explode it into a huge field of light. And then once you're in that light, spend time, illuminate the chamber, become aware of it, and then start to play with consciousness, where consciousness is moving in and out and back and forth. Um, there's lots of other ways to work with the heart center. If, like, sometimes people have so much heaviness and armor, because they're holding and they have grief. So if the heart is hard, right, and there's a lot built up, what I do is I have people get a picture of the Sacred Heart, Yeshua's heart, sometimes with a flame on it, and I have them lay flat on their bed and put a picture of the heart above them, and then they place their hand here where the heaviness is, and they start to feel into it, and I have them imagine like a ball of thread, like a yarn or something, and put their hand there, and they start to pull on the thread, and as they pull on the thread, they just keep pulling and take the energy and bring it up and send it into the Sacred Heart and ask Yeshua, can I surrender? Can I give this to you? Right. And you just start pulling it. And then you'll start to feel like the black goop and the heaviness, and you'll start pulling and pulling it. And you keep sending it in, and it'll eventually you'll cry, and a lot of stuff will come up, and you'll feel this big release, and you keep handing it and surrendering it and handing it until you've pulled and pulled and you can't really pull anymore, or you've done as much as you can, and then you just take your 2 hands, you place them over the heart, and you kinda bring energy and love and center it there and soften it, and then you just say, "I've released and let go of that and handed it to the divine." Um, and you can do that process so simple, right? Just for 3 or 4 days, and you'll feel this lightness in the heart, this lifting. And with that, then once people have gone through some of that process, I find it easier for them to go into the chamber and find that space and start to turn on a light and become acquainted with their own internal heart again and find what's in there and what wants to connect with them.
It's interesting as well because, heart-centeredness, I think I found a quote of yours where it said, "Is becoming your own gravitational force."
Yeah.
And it was only 2 weeks ago, I did an interview with, a gentleman named, Dr. Federico, Fajin. He is the inventor of the microprocessor that powers the devices that we all walk around with and these computer screens and,
Well,
decided that, silica and these little crystals can actually transmit light and actually get bing, 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 and actually we can start to relay information and process information through bits. And, his quantum physics and his studies have brought us to a point where he said, "My new theory, which I haven't been able to prove and don't know if I will be able to prove in my lifetime, is that he believes, the gravitational force might just be the force of love." There's a I've accelerated through an entire 90-minute podcast, and it was like the end of his podcast to bring that through, but I couldn't help but reflect on your teachings of the heart and just the words that you use around it. And, sometimes these words, we use them in passing as metaphors, but then, sometimes there's a deeper meaning underneath that too, which I couldn't help but just reflect on the parallels between what he was saying to me and the way you refer to the gravitational force that is the centeredness to an individual's being that the heart affords. Can we find out more about this heart and its connection to the light body, and the role it plays?
Yeah, so just wanna go back to that for one moment because it was Keone. I'm not sure if you know Keone's work.
No.
Oh, you have to interview him, he's amazing. He's often
I'd
on
love an introduction. Yes, please. Yeah.
Heather Ensworth's podcast, you'll find him there. But it is him that I was in communicating with that shared that, so not me, so I can't take credit for that. But he
Uh-huh.
talked about, these 6, linear, star lineages, and the final one being what he calls the crux lineage, connected to Christ consciousness, and, that is the actual 6th element, and that the 6th element rather than us thinking it, well, there's the 4 basic elements, then the 5th, but he's saying the 6th is our gravitational center, which to him, dwells in the heart, which is a black hole in the heart, which is connected to our authenticity. And that our authenticity, our real authenticity, is what will complete the cycle that Heather talks about. That that we're at the end of the Kali Yuga cycle, the cycles that we've continued to repeat. And his process of not wanting to repeat that cycle again is to go through this completion of these 6 star lineages, and the final completion is working with the lineage of the crux, which is the Christ consciousness, and bringing us back into our authenticity through our heart, through the gravitational center as the 6th element. So he's an expert on that. I'm not, but definitely should have him on as a guest. But your question around the heart,
And the
and,
light body.
and the light body. Well, all I know is that, I've had the 55 light codes, and when we are working with them, we always start with the heart. And so it must be a very pivotal central part. And I believe that when we can come into presence and conscious awareness within that heart center, I mean, that is one of the main keys to activating the light body because we're no longer in the linear thinking mind and we've come back into that field of divine awareness. Other than that, Raphael always brings us first to our heart. I mean, I think we probably start every transmission with our hand on our heart because you'll notice if you're just busy and stuff and you're chaotic or whatever's going on in your day and you just sit and literally simple, just put your hand on your heart and say, I love you, changes the energy completely. It's unbelievable. Or if you're starting to get sick and before you go to bed at night, just put the hand there and just say, I love you with your name after it. And then you feel that space and there's that tingling, beautiful energy in the heart that's so powerful. Or if you put your hand on your solar plexus or sacral or even on your crown, you're not going to feel that same, or at least for me, like it's different, it's beautiful, it has its place and importance, but the heart is the central um space. It is that gravitational center. It is that 0 point that when that comes into awareness and presence and we connect to it, then we're connected to the divine. And when we're connected to the divine and the highest aspect of who we are, then I would believe we would be fully in our light body.
It's, yeah, it was palpable when you were describing it before. I love you, Amrit, Touchwood, I love you, Kelly. You can actually feel when you repeat that, you actually start to feel yourself, falling inwards in on yourself. It's quite profound. As we're working with these light bodies, it seems like, heaven on earth seems like a thing that people have said quite a few times throughout the ages, in various contexts. But feeling into this activation of the light body, us coming deeper into resonance with our heart, this coherence, it does seem like many of your teachings are actually, instead of us ascending up into somewhere in some way, which I think is probably what's happening in some shape, form, or manner, depending on which way you look at the equation, but it almost feels like it's calling heaven down to us in some ways as well. Can you explain that for the listener, please?
Yeah, it already is within us. So that's why we often say we're remembering or we're revealing, we're unveiling what already lives and dwells within us that has been veiled from us and by us for a reason to have an exploration and an interaction with aspects of ourself on our unfolding in our journey. But now we're moving into a new cycle, a new stage of awareness where we're recognizing our own divinity. Yeah, yes, that we think of the heaven. I mean, I think traditionally we think of it separate or in religious contexts as, some man sitting in a chair in the sky. But the divine is in us. It's always been in us. And when we can go back into that heart center and remember our own divinity, it begins to shine through, and that awareness starts to emanate into our experience and everything that we do. So, and no one is greater, in my opinion, or less than another. They all carry that same spark of divinity, and it dwells within, and they all have the capacity to come back into relationship with it. And as we come into relationship and reacquaint ourselves with it, life becomes filled with so much grace, even when we come up against those obstacles and things that we in the past label as bad or hard or not good. Our perspective around them just shifts so much, and we're able to meet them with such more loving awareness and more grace, where we're not fighting against them, but we're just dropping into it's part of our experience without that need to push against it so much.
Yeah, if we're talking about obstacles, I mean, so many people perceive death as this, like being unalive, as this kind of final obstacle. You were told at some point that you will face a lot of death in your lifetime, and in many ways, you have. One of the questions I had for you is, I mean. I'm not sure if I'm quoting you properly, but the whole tribe, the whole clan, they died at some point. Uh, what did burying your entire tribe teach you that channeling angels could not?
So many things, that that it's an illusion that they're dead. They're right here. When you lose somebody and you're in terrible grief and somebody says to you, "They're in your heart," and you're like, you wanna say, "Ah." That's a nice saying, right? But I wanna talk to them, they're not here. And it's almost can be frustrating because 'cause you're in this deep grieving process, but they are in your heart, actually. There is truth to that. And, they are right here, and they're guiding us and loving us and helping us, and, we're not able to fully connect or call them on the phone or give them that hug or have that conversation in the same way and until we are in the next realm when we come back together, but we're in this temporary moment of separation in the physical realm, but they're right here and they're loving us and supporting us and guiding us. Um, and so it's taught me to really embody, enjoy, and cherish every moment while I am breathing on this planet with my children and my husband and my loved ones to the best of my capacity. Because I recognize from losing both parents, two sisters, two brethren, like my entire tribe all died, my whole family, other than my family unit. It was just, that I know I'll see them again, and I know that they're supporting me and that they are doing incredible work where they are that they couldn't do here, and they've got my back, and that they are in my heart, but that why I am here, I need to be here, not fully grieving them, but be in here with who is alive and what is happening and enjoy the senses and the humanness of this experience until I no longer am. And then we'll have a beautiful celebration and be together until the next round or whatever happens along the way. Um, so yeah, it doesn't mean I haven't fallen to my knees and cried on the floor and lost my cool many a time, but deep in my heart of my hearts, I know that they're right here.
Touch wood. There was a very interesting transmission from Raphael where he talked about the person with dementia is actually between these two worlds. I
Well,
found that quite an interesting take on dementia. Do you recall that transmission? Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
yeah, roughly I do. That was really beautiful. Um, so, and I'm curious, and this is another thing maybe to circle into around even autism, the certain types of like nonverbal.
Please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Raphael says that those in a deep dementious state are physically tethered to the earth, but are working in higher dimensions and doing work on other levels. And then whatever that is happening is then energetically somehow being transmitted to wherever it is that they are until they're ready to untether the physical form and merge back into wherever, they're going to be. And so just, like many, many, many years ago before the telepathy tapes came out, um, before I started doing a lot of work online, people would come to my house all the time. They're always trying to talk to Raphael, right? Knock on my door. And I had these two beautiful women that lived locally who had, each of them were friends, and both of their sons were nonverbal autistic. One of them was bedridden and unable to come over, but the other one would come with his mom. He was able to walk and stuff, but he couldn't communicate. And I channeled for them, and, Raphael said to his mother at the time that this young man and the other boy who was bedridden were communicating together in another realm, and that in that realm, many people who were nonverbal autistic around the globe were working very diligently in another dimension for the sake of the collective and for humanity. And that even though his body was here and that there was some interaction and connection, he was doing this really beautiful work and was having this incredible experience and on his own where he was with this other collective. And at the time, to me, I was like, wow, it seemed like quite a thing for Raphael to say. And it was very comforting for some reason. The mother felt that that rung perfectly correct in her body and her being. And I think it gave her great comfort. And then the telepathy tapes came out, whatever, 10 years after that. And there was this similar, what they were saying, they call it meeting on the hill, right?
The Hill, we did an episode with Dr. Diane Hennessy Powell, and like these autistic kids are running home and burying their heads into a pillow to shut off to provide themselves sensory deprivation so that they can connect in, and they're all meeting and learning from each other at the Hill. And like she talked about how kids were studying. Sorry, for those that are interested, please go watch this podcast on the Inspired Evolution. I don't want to, but honestly, it was riveting. Like some of the kids are like so young and they know this information, and they're just like they're incredible at maths, and they're like, where did you learn maths? Like, we haven't taught you this yet. And they're like, oh, I just learned it on the Hill. And so they're like they're like hanging out together, and they're teaching each other stuff, talking about stuff. And it's like this place in, wow, sorry, I've interrupted, but it's
Oh,
fascinating.
fascinating. And Raphael spoke of this at my home years ago to these women who would come regularly to my home for me to channel for them and ask about their sons. It was amazing. So then I was like, oh, it was so validating, right, that this then became documented as something that was happening with lots of people. But in terms of dementia, Raphael speaks of it as something similar in that they're no longer here in the way that we would want to have a connection or interaction, but they are operating somewhere else and connecting and doing something that we aren't fully privy to from where we are, that um, is having an impact on the collective. So, yeah.
Mm. I wonder what that, yeah. I wonder for those that are in caregiving roles for people with dementia tuning into this podcast, just what that does for them. Thank you for that. That's really insightful. There's I wanted to ask a little bit about grief today. There does seem to be a lot of grief in the air. I don't know if that's just me, but it seems to be a frequency that the world is navigating itself through. Am I being too broad brushed by sort of saying, is the grief part of the end of a world we all once knew? I mean, is that too convenient for me to say? But there does seem to be this grief energy that we're moving through.
Yeah, that's what it I mean, I think you're right. Exactly true. That's so true. Because depending on where one is in their lifetime or how old they are, I mean, the world in which I knew in my lifetime no longer is on many levels. And so what we had a sense of safety in or familiarity or we could count on or was real or we believed has kind of been pulled out. And so there's this grieving of, gosh, what we thought was true is just so not. And so I think it shakes people's foundation, and a sense of reality. And I remember not that long ago, it was a couple years ago, my one sister who's still alive, she she was just crying and crying and crying all the time. This was before we had lost most of our family. And I said, "You have so much grief. What's going on?" She's like, "I'm grieving for the collective. I'm grieving for the earth. I'm grieving for what was." And I was like, "Okay." But really, I think that there's a lot of truth to that. And that especially people who are sensitive, or might, label themselves as light workers or star seeds or whatever, are really feeling this. And I mean, we're all feeling it, but there is this collective grief because what we have known is no longer.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I'm not sure if it was you that mentioned this, but in Lemuria, bodies were transparent. We could see chakras, we could see each other's auras, well, connecting to some of the stuff we've been discussing, like, this telepathy. Everything was visible to the naked eye, apparently. Does make me wonder about, so many things actually, like victimhood and nutrition and all sorts of things. But the question I've got is like, is the new Earth that's emerging simply the end of us hiding in some way? I mean, if we could all wake up and see and start interacting with each other's fields and light bodies tomorrow instead of each other's physical bodies, every wound, every intention transparent. I mean, what does that society, I mean, what survives in that society and what dissolves in that society overnight in your, yeah, worldview?
That's a really good question, Amrit. I haven't contemplated that. I mean, if if we're really in our light body, it would feel as though many of those wounds, insecurities, martyr, victimhood frequencies would have come into back into wholeness. Would have healed them. So our need to hide and keep our facade, our persona, our ego really intact in that same way probably wouldn't be as necessary because we would fully be in our divinity and that transparency wouldn't be something we'd be afraid of.
I want to dial back to the 144,000 because the last time you were here, we seeded a massive intention, and there seems like there's it's coming to fruition. So that's really beautiful. That sometime next year you're gathering 144,000 souls.
Nope.
Um, yeah, touch wood. Well, the Inspired Illusion Tribe and audience, we're going to power this too. Touch wood. For those that don't know, now you know. So this is happening. There was a really beautiful moment in our last podcast where a beautiful intention was seeded there, in and around this, thanks to you. So, yeah, feel very energetically touch wood connected to what's emerging. Tell us a little bit around, for those that didn't tune into the last episode, gathering 144,000 souls is no small feat. And like you said, fingers crossed, why would one go on this adventure to do such a thing, please, Kelly?
I don't know, Emran. I'm a little crazy, you know?
Which we love, by the way.
No, but you have us play an important role because it was first mentioned on your podcast last time we got together, and it's the
Mm,
first time I mentioned it this time ever that we're actually gonna do
mm,
it, so
I
thank you
can't
for that.
wait. I can't wait.
Yeah, I don't know, Raphael said to me forever ago, "There will be a moment in time where the earth will be in a great transition. And in that moment, 144,000 people, souls that are a tribe filled with love, will all gather in one moment and hold love in their heart. And that love will ripple out across the planet and have an impact for more light." And I was like, okay. I don't know how that's going to happen, but, Raphael's never let me down, and I trust that it will. So, on August 2nd, 2027, during this, historical eclipse, one way or another, and hopefully, along the meridian line in Africa, where civilization began, we will connect, as 144,000 or more souls, to hold love for the globe.
Well, we're going to stay tuned and we're going to connect in and we're going to make this happen. Touch wood. I'm super inspired for where we're headed. I'd love to get your thoughts on where you feel humanity is headed this time ahead. We're in something now. It seems like a very transitional and transformative time. I mean, we speak to Heather, we speak to Pam, we get these incredible downloads around what's happening in July 2026, August 2026, all the way through to 2028. And you speak to Raphael and you get similar downloads. I mean, every time I listen to Pam, she has these really fascinating, like one of her fascinations is, she's getting information from the stars and you're getting informations from, the angels, and they're saying the same things. Yeah, the hope for humanity, the inspired evolution. What do you see as being inspiring the evolution of humanity forward at this time? Is there inspiration for us?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think the next 3 to 4 to 5 years are going to be unprecedented changes that will change our paradigm completely. And we have a choice as humanity to choose love or to choose fear, to come together and collectively meet this moment to dream a reality where there's more equality, more love, more unity, more peace. And I believe that we'll make that choice. And that's the timeline I'm on, and, anybody who wants to join in on that timeline, let's do it.
Yeah, I did have a sneaky question. What are you most excited about on that timeline for yourself personally? Because yeah, there's so many big changes ahead. But sometimes there's like this. I wonder what you think about in terms of, oh, I wonder what being able to do that in my day or something like that. Is there anything personal that you often contemplate that you end up contemplating about? Yeah.
Mm. Just to be able to see the rippling effect of so many people waking up and coming into awareness, and that impact, and knowing that we collectively decided to do it on a personal level would be incredibly, I wouldn't wanna say rewarding because that sounds kinda egotistical. It has nothing to do with me in any way, shape, or form, but it would just feel so, I would just it would be a dream of a lifetime.
I'm hearing the word satisfying.
Yeah.
Kelly, it is always, my goodness, beyond satisfying having you here. Thank you so much for your generosity of spirit, of heart, sharing your wisdom, your insight, as always with us. It is always a treat and an absolute pleasure. You're always up to a lot as well. So thank you so much for carving out the time. And on behalf of myself and the Inspired Evolution Tribe and audience, thank you so much for you.
Well, thank you for having me. I so appreciate it, and everybody, we got this.
You inspired soul human being, you made it through to the end of another really incredible episode. It is such an honor to be your brother walking this path by your side. To all of you that are subscribed to this channel, thank you so much for your incredible love and for your support. Like I like to say, everything you see around here, it is powered and empowered by your subscription to this channel. And to all of you that haven't yet subscribed, please do take a moment. As I'm saying the word subscribe, you can click the button below, hit that bell notification icon. It costs you absolutely nothing. It's completely free, but it's powering an entire channel to be able to do, and you're basically supporting independent media to be able to do what it does here online. So you can join the movement, join the community, spreading love, positivity, and wisdom like this around the planet together. Thank you so much in advance for your incredible love and for your support. Talking about community, we'd love to welcome you home on the inside at the Inspired Evolution Community Circle. Once a month, guests like Kelly come on board. And we have really great conversations, masterclasses, Q&As with these incredible guests where we dive in deeper. And also once a week, we gather as a community, meditations, and also community private sharings that aren't recorded, completely private, so we can actually open up our hearts to one another and forge some really incredible connections in that space. So if you'd like to check us out on the inside, I highly encourage you to do so. Go on, check us out. I'd love to welcome you home with such incredible like-minded, like-hearted individuals. inspiredevolution.com/circle, link on screen, QR code, and link in the description below, just to make it super easy for you to do so. If you feel the call and these are feeling like interesting times for you and you'd like support with an astrology reading, you can book one in at amritsandu.com/reading if you'd like to sort of understand yourself better or look at how these transits at this particular moment in time are impacting you and your chart. On screen now, the opportunity to dive in even deeper, continue your inspirations to evolve onwards, upwards, and inwards. Go on, take your pick, make your click. I'll see you in the next one. Go on, I'll see you there.